Hey, this is Rick, Tennessee Homestead. How the heck are you today? All right, doing good? Me too. Been working on the truck all week. Had some things needed to get done to it, so been doing that. So pardon the way I'm dressed here. I'm kind of haven't even shaved, man. Terrible. Anyway, go grab yourself a cup of coffee. We'll sit down and have a chit chat for a minute. Some things going on that you might want to be aware of, and kind of had me scratching my head a little bit. So, alrighty. Anyway. Grab your coffee, come on back. We'll get started. Alrighty, we're back. Hey, there we go. Yeah, some things have been going on with this craziness with the isolation and all this. It's gotten a little out of hand. I saw a clip the other day, I believe it was from CBS News, that had a guy from Philadelphia, a nice African-American gentleman in a suit, and he was being drug off a bus because he didn't have a face mask. That's a little bit of overreach by the government. It really is. If Philadelphia, and I'm not even sure it was Philadelphia because I just caught the tail end of the clip. You know, if a city's going to insist that they wear masks and so forth to get on mass transit and so forth, and by golly, the city needs to provide those buses or trains or whatever mass transit they're talking about. And I think this one was a bus because as the police wrestled the guy to the ground because he wasn't too happy about it, his cell phone was flying one way, his backpack ended up underneath the bus while they were putting him in cuffs. Yeah, to drag him away. Drag him away because he didn't have a mask. To get back to all that, then you have the situation of if the city's going to make you do that, okay, seriously, then they need to provide the masks where a bus driver can say, hey, where's your mask? And the guy said, I don't have one. Here you go. Okay, problem would have been solved. Okay. A lot of these major cities, folks, a lot of their problem is the politicians that are in charge of those cities do not have a handle on this stuff. Most of these large cities are pretty blue, and they think that they are little god. New Orleans pulled that stuff back in Katrina, and the Oath Keepers and several other organizations, after it was all said and done, started filing civil rights violation suits against these people. That's probably what's going to need to happen again. These people are going to have lawsuits issued against them. Their little decrees do not override the Constitution of the United States. Sorry. Okay? Just isn't the way it works. But mainly it's the attitude of this media peddling this the sky is falling routine that has become the problem. In Kentucky, I'll give you a link to the Patriot nurse's video she had done on it. Down in Kentucky, if you fly into Kentucky to visit your family, you're there for 2 weeks. You can't leave the house. You're in isolation. They catch you out of the house, they'll arrest you. Okay. Yeah, they'll turn you over to the Kentucky Gestapo, otherwise known as the state police, and off you go. Now, I don't want to pick on all the state troopers because I know you guys are just doing your jobs and following the rules, but you need to start understanding that if it violates a person's constitutional rights, I'm sorry, at that point in time, you need to make a call, okay, whether you're willing to do that or not. Always remember that a lot of the German soldiers that participated in World War II and were put on trial for atrocities used the excuse they were only following orders, okay? Didn't work too well for them, all right? That's not an excuse for violating the U.S. Constitution. So as law enforcement officers, you need to know what the Constitution is, and it is the supreme law of this land. And anything that violates that, you might want to take a step back and tell the supervisor, you want to arrest this guy, come on out. I'll let you do it, but I'm not risking everything because these cities will throw your butt under a bus and these states as fast as anybody else will. Okay? So people need to wake up a little bit. But this one down in Kentucky is where a church had set up to have services. They had the people spread out in the church pews to where they weren't close to one another. They had hand sanitizer for them and other PPE available to them. And they had church services. And these people some person, which concerns me a lot, turned them into the state police for violation of the governor's orders. Turned them in, yeah. And the Gestapo, the state police showed up and went out and took down all their license plates and contacted them to let them know that they were now under a mandatory 2-week quarantine. Okay. First off, a lot of this is to cover the government's butt on that they have, through their policies, have reduced our ability to deal with people as far as hospitalization goes. Number 2, most people go through this flu unscathed. It's, matter of fact, fairly mild on them. Elderly, or if you've got cancer or lung problems, it can be fatal. Okay. But the biggest problem is all the testing that they're doing. Okay. And all of you know that during a normal flu season, which, by the way, is worse than it is now, they will take and give you a shot in the tush for some antibiotics and hand you a handful of pills, tell you to go home, drink plenty of fluids, get a lot of vitamin C, and rest. This one, they're throwing you in the hospital, okay? Because they're trying to, here again, hold the line on the curve. Now, here's the flip side of that, okay? The way flus get brought down to a low level is people got to get it, okay? It's not going to disappear. It's going to be out there waiting for you next year, okay? People got to get it, sad to say. And as people get it, their bodies build immunities to it, and then next year they're not facing it. With all this isolation nonsense, I can guarantee you this is coming back next year like a grizzly bear. History shows it, okay? Be advised. Listen, folks, if you don't attend that church and you're not being forced into that building, it's none of your cotton picking business what those people do. It's not. But you're all running around thinking if somebody catches this, it's going to kill you. It's not. Wake up. Okay? Get with the facts and the figures. Flu kills a lot of people every year, period. End of quotation. Every year it happens, period. Okay? Some years back in the 90s and so forth, you were in the 81 to 100,000 people here in this country died of just normal flu. All right? Yeah, this thing's kind of a mess. For one, it's a self-inflicted wound. Get ticked to China. All right? These people are over here eating wild animals, which pack the coronavirus, which mutates in different animals and different situations, and we suddenly have this mess on our hands. And what did China do to handle it? They told their people, go travel. Because they wanted their numbers lower, and they figured if they got them out of the country, what they didn't take into account is these people could not have any symptoms and still be a carrier. And then you got places like New York where the bright individuals in charge of that city step back and go, hey, go live your life. Don't stay out of the stores. Don't stay out of the crowds. Get out there and do your thing. Yeah, it worked out good, didn't it, New York? You have governors who they know what their situation is and how well their state can handle the pandemic by looking at the hospital beds and so forth they have available. But yet you got Cuomo out there jumping up and down over it's somebody else's fault other than his. And it's not. States are responsible for that, okay? That falls on the shoulder of the governors. Okay, if they realize they don't have enough hospital beds, how long has that man been governor? Do you not think that during his reign as governor, he might want to look at that and go, boy, if we had a pandemic here, we're really in trouble. And start using New York State funds to correct it. Instead, they wait until it does become an emergency, and then we all get to pay for it. Okay? Getting a little fed up with the incompetency of governors and the incompetency of these cities, and then everybody else gets to share the wealth. And that's what it is, folks. Okay? We got 2 cotton-picking cases in this county. We have a governor who, our caseload's fairly low. Why? Sure, he's asked people to voluntarily quarantine. It's not mandatory. You can't call the state police and go, oh, there's a group of more than 10 people. Okay? The state police go, yeah, well, we got criminals to deal with. We're not worried about that. And if you think it's a problem, then stay out of the group. But yet, you can throw, 200 people in a Walmart. Talking out of both sides of your mouth, people. When you want to go to the grocery store, you go. But somebody down in Kentucky turned in a church, having worship service, taking every precaution they could possibly take. Wow. There's countries like that's happened before. It's where the citizenry, fearing their own, good of the country, turned in their fellow citizens. The old Soviet Union, they used to do that. Red China still does. Yeah, Nazi Germany was big on it. Yeah. Wow. At least Antifa knows now where the fascists are. Look around in the cities and go, there they are. If you've turned in a fellow countryman for something you didn't agree with, you've got a problem. Where do these governors get off? Okay, Governor of Kentucky is trying to get himself a little gold star for having the lowest rate. So let's see how his rates look next year when those people of his state who did not face the virus turn around next year and have it coming out their ears. Yeah, because they can't keep this up. Okay, they've got to get America up and going again. It's that simple. Let's realize this is a flu. It's no killer pandemic. It's probably not man-made. But yet we have these wet markets over in Asia, and they're more than just in China. They have them in Hong Kong. We've got them in several countries. You don't take a bunch of live animals, wild animals, out of the wild, and throw them into cages and stack them on top of each other and not expect them to pass viruses around. It's just common sense. And then they get in there and they're butchering these animals and preparing them and things of this nature. Well, all it takes is that 1 or 2 people to get that virus on their skin, wipe their face, and here we go. Because we don't have a vaccine for it yet. Okay, and I've even heard out there, well, it's not the coronavirus. Yes, it is. It's a mutated version of the coronavirus. Okay? But because when SARS hit, it hit so lightly, nobody took it serious. No R&D money was spent trying to figure out how to do a vaccine for it. Had limited deaths. It's not a biggie. It's a biggie. Okay? And who do you blame? Pharmaceutical companies didn't see the money in it. And you can't really blame them. Death toll was very low in the SARS. But it was a coronavirus. Now this one is a mutated version. Doing a little more damage. Doing a lot of damage. Our economy is going to take years to recover from this, folks. It's going to take years. But Americans out turning in Americans. Americans being drug off of public transit because they didn't have a mask. Wow, what have we become? Okay, what have we become? And it tells you one thing. Your government has overreached its authority. and they're still overreaching. You might want to sit back as Americans and say, this is enough. This is enough. Support groups who decide to start filing civil rights suits against states and governors and cops that were involved. Okay? Because you guys need to wake up. Down in Katrina, a lot of police officers from New Orleans were personally sued for civil rights violations. And those cities and states did not stand behind them. And these guys lost their tushes. Don't think for 30 seconds that your state, your city, won't hang you out to dry. But yeah, we saw these same things that Americans sit back and go, that'd never happen here. Americans wouldn't rat each other out and turn each other into the Gestapo. And yeah, we're proving it. Yeah, we will. And then I actually heard one lady who made the statement that, well, you know, your rights only go as far as being a threat to somebody else. Let me explain something to you. If that is the case, then we better not allow our government to have another war. Because that's where a lot of good men get maimed, injured, and killed for your rights. Think on that one a minute. Okay? Think on that one just for a minute. This is just beyond belief. And I know a lot of good people in Kentucky, and I can guarantee you that they are a bit ashamed of their fellow statesmen. What have we become? Yeah, seriously. But it is nothing more than what we have seen time and time again. I mean, we have young women who would no more think about taking off all their clothes to get on an airplane, but yet they go through these scanners and they got a couple of guys sitting back there can see every pimple you got, girls. I used to be in charge of security and automation systems and so forth for an international airport, a very large, busy hub. And I can guarantee you, TSA has never stopped a terrorist attack. Matter of fact, whenever they're tested, okay, when the government goes through to see if they can slip weapons by them, they fail consistently. So they're providing you no protection, no security. You're just getting to be the, it's a bone they fed you. We had 9/11. Then we got the Patriot Act. That was your government pushing you. Then, you know, they come up with the TSA to, oh, we're going to make sure this never happens by taking away your rights. They're making it now to where you're going to have this federally approved ID to even get on a plane. More of your rights. You have this flu where they're using that to take away your rights. Better wake up. Okay, I'm an old man. Okay. Don't have that many more years knocking around here on planet Earth. All right, you young people, you do. You better wake up. A lot of you complain about the good old United States of America. Well, let me tell you something. If you look at our borders and people pouring into this country from all over the world, it's a pretty good deal. It's not perfect. It never has been perfect. All right? But it's not bad for a people trying to self-govern. But let me warn you something. You were given by the founding fathers of this nation a pretty good plan. Pretty good one. But it has been basically run through a shredder. They write laws that won't hold up to constitutional testing, period, end of quotation. They step outside the bounds of government authority all the time. If you don't start stopping it, the Agenda 21s and all this are going to easily happen. What do they tell you when they, oh, we're going to move y'all into this one area so that we can, A, protect the environment and have sustainable this and sustainable that. All right? And you'll live here where we tell you to live. But don't worry, we'll give you jobs that we want you to have. You're going to give up your rights and freedom for security. No such thing, folks. Matter of fact, your founding fathers knew that. Security brings you slavery. You know, as a slave, you'll be secure in the fact that you will have 3 hots and a cot and protected because they need your labor. Unless you step out of line. Then they don't need you anymore. Wake up, America. Here again, they're using natural things, natural disasters, to take away your rights. That's it. That's simple. And by whose authority do they have that right? Not by the Constitution. We're giving it to them. As for me, I go and do as I will see fit. I guess the term I could be used as I shall not comply. There's limited things you can do to, and I shall not comply to the government's overreach of my rights. The rest of you better stand up and say the same, or you're not going to have any. And I swear, these commercials that they're playing on TV, they make you sick. You've given up your livelihoods, you've given up your freedom over a flu virus. And so far, it's been nasty. It's a bad flu. I agree with them on that. But it's a flu. What's going to happen next year? It'll probably be worse. They're going to lock you down again. Or maybe they're going to build a whole bunch of hospitals in these little towns in each state and tell you, for your protection, we're going to move you in there. You can't leave. You're going to live there. It's coming at you. And a lot of Americans are going to think, because it's for their safety, it's a good idea. Yeah, you're going to get, for your safety, right into slavery. Better wake up. Better wake up. And these politicians that are playing this game right now, ooh, it sounds good now. They need to pay the price. Lawsuits should fly after this is all over. Coming for their houses, cars, and incomes. For violating our rights as U.S. citizens. There's a limit to public safety. If the government was truly concerned about public safety, then any time they hear of a nasty flu virus popping up in some strange country that isn't here in this country, they should lock our borders down. There, that'd be for public safety. To allow Chinese to travel all over the world, knowing full well that they had this disease in their country. Politicians weren't protecting you. Yet they want you to pay the price financially, with your freedom, and so forth. Wake up. And that's the last I say about the flu. And that's the last I say about this whole thing. I am so thoroughly disgusted seeing people drug off of buses because they didn't have a face mask. The city should have provided them. Churches turned in because they were having worship service by citizens. Let me tell you something. Any person that would do something like that, you don't even know what it is to be an American, much less be one. You might be one by birth. But turn in your fellow Americans for worshiping their God. I tell you what, long road back to becoming America. You people, young people, can either do it or pay the price. You'll get to find out what a socialist utopia is. Look around. Maybe you like communist China. Yeah, where the government, well, you guys would scream bloody murder. They took away your social media. We got people. You're living in one of the few countries where you have a lot of freedom. There's others, but not much. Right? Better wake up. This is Rich Desi Homestead. I love you guys and I appreciate you. But I'm taking a lot of heat from this platform. Okay? I'm not going to keep doing it. Right? Look at the facts, look at the figures. We got a bad flu. That's it. Let's treat it as such and move on with our lives. Because what we're doing right now, even most of the doctors will tell you, without people getting the flu, they're not protected from the flu. For most people, it's a very mild flu. Wake up, America. Being played. Don't waste a good crisis. That's the battle cry of Washington, D.C. Love you guys. Take care. And start thinking about you, your country, and your fellow countrymen. Right? And if you feel personally that you want to be safe and isolated, then do that. That's your right as an American. Okay? But kind of like our governor, it's voluntary. You have rights. I'm not going to violate it. And we have pretty low rates. Think about that one. Have a good one, folks. Take care.